The movie opens with Cecilia quietly slipping out of the bedroom, carefully gathering her belongings. She drugged her boyfriend, Adrian, with diazepam to ensure he wouldn't wake up during her escape. She also made sure to turn off all the alarms and cameras in the house to avoid detection. Cecilia tiptoed out of the house, making her way through the garage. In the garage, she saw Zeus, Adrian's dog. She approached Zeus to remove his collar. However, in the process, she accidentally nudged the dog against the car, triggering the car alarm, and Cecilia knew she had to act fast. Panicked, Cecilia started running. She dashed out of the garage and sprinted away from the house as fast as she could. Cecilia made her way to the street, her breath still heavy from the sprint. She found a spot where she could wait for her sister, Emily. The street was quiet, and the tension hung in the air as Cecilia kept glancing around, hoping not to see any sign of Adrian. After a while, Emily's car finally appeared in the distance. Cecilia smiled with a mix of relief and anxiety. She quickly got into the car, barely managing to catch her breath. Emily, sensing the urgency, was ready to speed off. Just as they were about to pull away, Adrian appeared out of nowhere. He approached the car, his face twisted in anger, and demanded that Cecilia open the door. Adrian's frustration boiled over, and he smashed the car window. Startled, Emily hit the gas, and they sped away from the scene, leaving Adrian behind. 2 weeks had passed since Cecilia's escape, and she was now staying with James, a friend from her childhood. Cecilia felt safe inside the house, but was very scared to step outside. James noticed this and kept trying to encourage her to go out, even if it was just for a short while. He thought it would be good for her to get some fresh air and not stay cooped up inside all the time. After a lot of persuasion from James, Cecilia finally agreed to go outside. She decided to start with something easy and went to check the mailbox at the end of the driveway. This was a big step for her. As she reached the mailbox and was about to open it, she saw a man wearing a hoodie jogging down the street towards her house. Cecilia turned around and ran back to the safety of the house as fast as she could. Her heart was pounding, and she was out of breath by the time she got back inside. One day, Emily came over to visit Cecilia. However, Cecilia wasn't too happy about the visit. She was worried that Adrian might follow Emily and find out where she was hiding. Cecilia told Emily that it wasn't safe for her to come over because of this, but Emily had some surprising news. She told Cecilia that Adrian was no longer a threat. Confused, Cecilia asked her what she meant. Emily then showed her a news article on her phone. The article said that Adrian had committed suicide. This was a big shock to Cecilia. She couldn't believe what she was reading. Cecilia started to explain to them how Adrian was very controlling. He always wanted to be in charge of everything. One of the things he wanted was to have a baby with her, but Cecilia didn't want that. She was afraid that if she had a baby with Adrian, she would be stuck with him forever. So, she secretly took birth control pills to avoid getting pregnant. After sharing this, Cecilia decided to take another small step outside. This time, she went out to bring in the mail. When she came back in with the mail, James and Sydney, his daughter, were really proud of her. They clapped and cheered for her. Among the mail, James found a letter addressed to Cecilia. He handed it to her, saying it was for her. Cecilia was curious about who it could be from and what it might say. Emily and Cecilia went to Tom, Adrian's brother and lawyer. He told them that Adrian left a $5 million fortune to Cecilia. He also told her she can get that if only she can prove she is mentally competent and that she doesn't commit any crime. Back at the house, Cecilia wanted to show her gratitude to James for letting her stay with him. As a thank you gift, she gave him a ladder. James was surprised and thanked Cecilia for the gift. Then, Cecilia had a special surprise for Sydney, James's daughter. She told Sydney that she had opened a bank account just for her. Cecilia explained that she would put $10,000 into the account every month. This money was for Sydney to use for her college education in the future. Sydney was amazed and couldn't believe how generous Cecilia was. She thanked Cecilia, and Cecilia felt happy that she could help. That night, Cecilia was unpacking her clothes, and she felt something uneasy and turned around, but no one was there. In the morning, Cecilia is cooking eggs and bacon for breakfast. Then she left the kitchen to call for Sydney, and something picked the knife that she was using and turned the heat up on the stove. Sydney and Cecilia came to the kitchen and put the fire out. Cecilia is sitting alone and thought she heard something. She called for James thinking it was him, but no one answered. She looked all over the house, but everything was normal. She went outside to check, but there was nothing out of the ordinary, so she got back to the house. Later that night, Cecilia and Sydney are sleeping together. Some invisible thing came and pulled the cover, and then it took their picture. Cecilia woke up to the flash of the camera. She looked around, but there was nothing there. She saw that the cushion of the sofa is pressed down as if someone is sitting, and she throws the cover on the sofa. As he was trying to pull the cover back, she saw that there was a footprint standing on it. Then they started walking towards and felt a push. She immediately called for James, and he came to the room rushing. She told them she saw something, but both James and Sydney didn't see anything. The next day, Cecilia went to a job interview at an architectural firm. As she was trying to get ready to present her work, she saw that her bag was empty and her work was gone. She panicked and got up, but she fainted. Later, she was told that there was diazepam in her blood. Then she found the bottle she dropped in the bathroom with Adiran's bloody fingerprints on them. Cecilia went to Tom with James and showed him the bottle. She asked him if he knew anything, but he didn't. She told them that Adrian told her that he'd find her wherever she goes, and he is now leaving her a sign. She believes that Adrian found a way to make himself invisible, since he is an expert in the optics field. Tom told her that he has an urn with Adrian's ash, and he showed her pictures from the crime scene that shows Adrian slashed his wrists. Cecilia went to visit Emily, but Emily was mad at her because she got an email from her account. Cecilia told her she didn't write it, but Emily closed the door on her face. She checks the email and sees that it says that Emily was suffocating her and she doesn't want anything to do with her. It even says that she wishes that she wished Emily had died instead of Adrian. Cecilia started crying because of the email, and Sydney found her crying. She asked her if she wanted to go out for a girls' night and have some cake. Then the invisible thing punched Sydney on the face, making her think it was Cecilia who hit her. James overheard Sydney screaming and came and took her away. Cecilia followed after them, saying it is not her, but they left. After that, Cecilia dared Adrian to come out. She spilled coffee grounds on the floor and waited for him to come. Then she called Adrian's number and heard it ringing in the attic. She went there and found it. She spilled paint to reveal him. When she went downstairs, she found the sink running and saw that it washed the paint off. Then the invisible man started attacking her, choking her and throwing her off the table. She finally managed to escape the house and called an Uber, which took her to Adrian's house. She went inside and found a machine and suit in the basement. The suit had cameras and could turn invisible, which is how Adrian had been scaring her. As she tried to leave with the suit, she hid in a closet and saw invisible footprints. She pushed the invisible man away and ran back to the car. Cecilia sets up a meeting with Emily at a restaurant. As she starts to explain what she found out about Adrian, a knife floats between them. The invisible man cuts Emily's throat and puts the knife in a shocked Cecilia's hand. The other people in the restaurant freak out when they see Emily dead and Cecilia with the knife. The police come and arrest her right away. She is taken to a psych ward, screaming that Adrian killed Emily until she is tied down and given a sedative. She knows Adrian is in the room with her, confirmed, when she hears a voice teasingly saying, "Surprise." Cecilia is tested and questioned for killing Emily. She tries to explain, but she's scared Adrian might be listening. The doctors tell her she's pregnant. Tom visits her with a deal. She can split her money with him or go back to Adrian with the baby. Tom knows Adrian is alive and that he messed with her birth control. Cecilia knocks Tom's things off the table and grabs one of his pens and some sticky stuff. She hears on the news that it's going to rain soon. A few days later, it's raining hard outside. Cecilia waits for the right moment and takes the pen she hid. She turns on the shower and shouts that she won't let Adrian have the baby. She starts to cut her wrist with the pen, but the invisible man stops her. Cecilia stabs him with the pen, making the suit go wrong. A guard comes in, and the invisible man shocks him. Cecilia tries to run as more guards come, but the invisible man kills them all. She gets a gun and goes outside in the rain, where he takes down another guard. They face each other, with the invisible man saying he'll kill Sydney. Cecilia takes a car and calls James to go back to the house. The invisible man shows up and begins attacking Sydney, but James comes and gets beaten badly. Cecilia comes and sprays him with a fire extinguisher, then shoots him 4 times. He falls down dead. Cecilia takes off his mask and sees it's Tom wearing the suit. At the same time, a SWAT team goes into Adrian's house and finds him alive, looking like Tom kidnapped him. Cecilia is cleared because the police think Adrian was just used in Tom's plan, but she knows the real story and says this was all Adrian's idea from the start, even making his brother take the blame for him. Later, Cecilia contacts Adrian and arranges a meeting. Apologies for that. Let's expand the story a bit. Cecilia heads to Adrian's house for a dinner he planned. James is outside, secretly listening, hoping Cecilia will get Adrian to admit his guilt. They sit where the security camera can see them. She tells him he can't have the baby, but Adrian tries to act charming. She excuses herself to use the bathroom. A little later, as Adrian sits alone, the knife he's holding rises by itself and his throat is cut. Cecilia comes back out and pretends to cry for the camera, but it's clear she used his suit to kill him. James rushes in, and even though he sees the suit in her bag, Cecilia insists that Adrian killed himself. James seems to accept her story. Cecilia leaves with Zeus, the dog, finally feeling free and relieved. As she walks away, there's a sense of closure, and she knows she can start a new chapter in her life without fear. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.